Hey gang, it's JC and this is the Daily Dose for Wednesday, November 3rd, 2010, a cooperative venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. We have archives top of the page, Eye Candy archives bottom of the page, Dave Murray's weather forecast, the audio on iTunes, and of course we're on the big 550 KTRS every day starting at 10 o'clock in the morning and going until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And of course, every Wednesday it's the ladies. By the time you see this, that will be over. On Thursday, professional comedian Joe Marlotti and Smash joins us again on Friday in the 11 o'clock hour. And if you have not sent in your mixtapes, be listening. We will be talking about that on the Big 550 KTRS the rest of the week. And this is a Friday feature we're doing with an opportunity to win really cool stuff. iPod Nanos and also gift certificates for Gallagher's in Waterloo, Illinois, where they have the best fried chicken I've ever had in my life. It's just unbelievable. Those Sunday fried chicken dinners, and they got entertainment in there on the weekends and great steaks. And if you haven't been to Gallagher's, oh my gosh, you got to check that out. All right, what else? Oh, and by the way, if you are not able to listen because you're at work or you're just not near an AM radio, or some people are in office buildings where you can't get AM, just download the app TuneIn Radio on your smartphone, and then you can get it and you can also record. Again, that's called TuneIn Radio. All right, it's over. I don't know what the hell we're going to be watching in terms of commercials on TV and listening to in terms of commercials on radio. My guess is it's going to be back to, like, you know, car dealerships and furniture stores and, you know, Target and stuff like that, because it's over. The election is done. Now, a couple of things. First of all, Sarah Palin's candidates, I guess she was about 2/3 good. So I was a little surprised on the Nevada thing. I thought Harry Reid was out. Sharon Angle was going to be in, so I'm a little surprised by that one. We're still waiting to see what's the story going to be in Alaska. That's very interesting, too. Christine O'Donnell gave one of the most bizarre concession speeches I've ever heard in my life. There were actually a couple of those. And goodbye, Ed Martin. So long, douchebag. As far as the exit polls are concerned, at a national level, a couple of things somebody's going to have to explain to me, okay? And I don't intend to sit here and just talk politics at you because you're probably overloaded on this. But these are just interesting little points, and then we'll move on to other stuff. According to the exit polls, the voters said, for gosh sakes, this gridlock in Washington has got to stop. Will you guys please learn to work together? And of course, my question is, well, whose fault is that? People who are trying to compromise, or people who have ground their heels in the ground and said, we will absolutely not compromise, as the Republicans are saying and have been saying when it became clear that they were going to take over the House of Representatives. And even as early as, you know, middle of last week, they were saying they're not going to compromise. Also, the Tea Partiers have insisted that they are not going to compromise on their ideals and on their principles. So then the question becomes, why would you go into the voting booth and do the exact opposite of what you've told people you want to have happen, which is the end of gridlock? And as a matter of fact, you had George Will on ABC Weekend, just over the weekend on Sunday, insisting that compromise, well, let me back up. He said that gridlock is not a problem, it's an achievement. I'm going to repeat that. George Will, massive Republican pundit, says gridlock is not a problem, it's an achievement. There's a couple of things I don't understand here that don't add up. Another thing on the exit polls. Voters said you got to try to find a way to work together. Again, here we go. Same argument against why would you then go in the voting booth and vote for the people who, before you even went in, told you they're not going to do it. I don't understand. It's just illogical, I guess. Oh, and by the way, it doesn't appear to be the year of the woman, regardless of what Sarah Palin says about her mama Grizzlies, because there is now a net decrease in the number of women in Congress because so many women lost in this election, and in almost all cases, majority of women, the overwhelming majority of women in Congress were Democrats, and a lot of them were voted out last night. So say goodbye to the whole idea of, I'm tired of talking about this. All right, Facebook says they're going to have a big announcement today. There's a lot of speculation that there might be the introduction of a Facebook phone, or maybe some sort of mobile operating system, some sort of iPad put out by Facebook. Press conference later on today. I guess that's when we are going to find out. Brett Michaels is in St. Louis tonight doing a benefit, and that's cool. But now, earlier in the week we heard that Billy Ray Cyrus and his wife Tish were getting a divorce. Boys, there are going to be a fight in court over all of the Miley Cyrus money, okay? So now the rumor is that Billy Ray Cyrus is sort of standing there going, yeah, you know why our marriage broke up? Because Tish was having an affair with Bret Michaels, which is so disgusting I don't even want to think about it. You know, and I can't believe that she would do something so cheesy and sleep with somebody so disgusting and then cheat on him with Bret Michaels. It was about 5 years ago during Hurricane Katrina that they were doing that relief telethon, and Kanye West was standing there with Mike Myers, and Kanye West just sort of blurts out, George Bush doesn't care about black people. Mike Myers looked like, oh my God, there's my career. It's passing right before my very eyes. It turns out that George Bush is still bothered by it. In a new interview with Matt Lauer that's going to start running next week, Bush says it was the most disgusting moment in my presidency. Oh, no, 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 no. Don't limit yourself, W. I can think of many more than that. Quote, I think parents need to beat the crap out of their kids. The words of Pink, who says, my dad put me through a wall. It's the only reason I'm alive. And we see how stable she turned out. In an interview with Vanity Fair, Cher admits that she sometimes forgets to refer to her daughter as a guy. She said, quote, she's a very smart girl, boy. She says, this is where I get into trouble. I don't remember what to call her or him. In that same interview, Cher said she doesn't do drugs. Well, because it would have voided the warranty on her nose. Oh, I'm having fun with that one. The Hollywood Reporter is a big magazine in Southern California. For years, I said, well, the Hollywood Reporter is saying, and people thought it was like a guy. It's not. The Hollywood Reporter is the name of a magazine out there. It's a trade publication. Recently, they conducted a poll and asked late-night viewers a bunch of random questions, and here are some of the results. Only 35% knew that Conan O'Brien's new show is going to air on TBS. Now, my question is, you had like 65% of the country watching the World Series, and they were running Conan promos like every half inning. So how can they not know that? 37% of Leno's viewers support the Tea Party movement. Leno's viewers are most likely to be religious and drive a Chevy or Pontiac, while Letterman's viewers are more likely to be divorced and drive a Toyota. Some of these market studies they do are just squirrely, you know. So, all right, you have that information. Well, now what do you do with it? Conan's viewers are largely independent voters who enjoy vodka drinks, watch Comedy Central, and are most likely to be single atheists who owned Volkswagens. If all late-night shows were on at the same time, 23% would watch Leno, 15% Letterman, 11% would watch Conan. They were followed by Jon Stewart and George Lopez, who each had 10%. 71% of Jon Stewart's viewers support legalizing marijuana. Surprise! When people were asked who came out as the winner after NBC's late-night fiasco earlier this year, 36% said Leno, compared to 21% for Conan, but 73% blame NBC. And I mention that because we're going to have Bill Carter on the show next Tuesday in the 12 o'clock hour. Bill is the guy who years ago wrote Monday Night Mayhem, the definitive book about the heyday of Monday Night Football with Dandy Don and Howard Cosell and Frank Gifford. Blew the lid off that story about Howard Cosell barfing during a Monday night game in Philadelphia back in the early 70s. He also wrote The Late Shift, which was the story about the war for The Tonight Show between David Letterman and Jay Leno, and now he has written another book about what happened last summer, primarily between Conan and Letterman, and even Jon Stewart was in there, and of course Leno, and we're going to have him on the air Tuesday on the showgram on KTRS. Mary Tyler Moore going to reunite with Betty White on TV for the first time in 33 years. That show Hot in Cleveland, which is on TV Land. Is that what it is? It's one of those cable outfits. Anyhow, they're going to be reunited after 33 years. Tina Fey on Letterman tonight. Just want to mention that. Flipping pages, flipping pages, flipping pages. I love this story. A 4-year-old was banned from preschool for his long hair, even though the school knew that he was growing it for cancer victims in honor of his dead grandmother. We got a bunch of stories like that on the show here today. Yeah, but this political thing, I'm still watching some of the coverage here even before I go into work. And, Christine O'Donnell, her big loss in Delaware last night, she hasn't been this crushed since Dorothy landed on her with a house. Birthdays today include Dennis Miller. Prick. He's 57 today. St. Louis's own Kate Capshaw is 57. And we have a great screen test question today on the showgram about the first animal shot into outer space by the United States in response to the Russians launching a dog in outer space. The Americans brought this animal back to Earth. The dog the Russians set up is still up there flying around somewhere. So lots of opportunity to win cool prizes. And we do screen test right at the end of the Real True Inside E Extra Access Entertainment Report at about 10:15 every day on the showgram on the Big 550 KTRS. JC's Eye Candy today. I'm not into the whole Star Wars, Star Trek thing, but there is a parody that I'm putting up today about Star Trek that is hilarious. And let's just say it has to do with voluptuous women, and we'll leave it at that. JC's Video Village this week is the 1993 review on Channel 4 that I did for the movie Alive about the cannibalism that went on back in 1972 when that South American rugby team crashed in the Andes. It's pretty funny. The Wayback Machine is from the late 1980s and an episode of Donnybrook where, even though I had been sued by Karen Carroll, who was the vice president and general manager of Y98, she sued me for slander. And then after 2 years, I was thrown out of court. I was completely exonerated, but then summarily convicted by Martin Dugan and his hacks on Donnybrook, and you'll see that. It reminds me very much of the scene in Animal House where they're all in that kangaroo court, and Dean Wormer is like, "Zip it, son," that sort of stuff. Our old school photo this week is back to 1982, and a famous broadcaster that you know and that you would recognize if he walked past you on the street today, but I just bet you don't recognize him from this picture in 1982. All right, so that's it. JC's Daily Dose for Wednesday, November 3rd, 2010, a cooperative venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. In the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.